Welcome to Networking Working, the podcast where real business stories meet meaningful connections. Brought to you by Business Matching UK, the UK's first business matching membership service with a business opportunity guarantee. Whether you're building something new, scaling something established, or just exploring smarter ways to move your business forward, you are in the right place.
Welcome back to Networking Working, the BMUK podcast. In this episode, we're joined by Andrew Sinclair of Total Water Solutions. And, as the name suggests, if it involves water and wastewater, Total Water Solutions are the people to talk to. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
For those of us who are not already deeply involved with water, please tell me what your business does and who you help.
It's quite a long story, really. We are technically the commercial team of Northumbrian Water and Essex and Suffolk Water. And what we do is we provide water-related services to what we would say is like business users, but it's organisations. So it could be councils, housing associations, public sector, but also industry, all the way through down to SMEs, so dental surgeries or hairdressers. Most businesses use water, so generally they need our services. The different bits of Total Water Solutions, so we cover quite a few niche areas, I think is probably the best way to put it. One of the main areas that we got is legionella control, which is obviously really important. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know the need to assess the risk. That's the technicality of it. So if you've got water in your business, and it's not just for private use, so you don't need one for your house, which is good news. It's for public use, so you've got people coming in or you run the business out of it. You need to assess the risk of that water system that's in place. And the reason for that is the bacteria is basically around. It's in water courses. It'll be in tap water. It's not harmful. You can drink it and it doesn't do anything. But the problems come where if it gets into a nice warm system with some nutrients, it can proliferate out and grow and they get lots of them. And then it becomes an issue if you inhale it. So showers tend to be the main risk. And it's not a nice thing to get. It mimics cold and flu, which is great if you're young, fit and healthy. But if you're maybe a bit older, smoker, drinker, it affects men more than women, then it can have a pretty bad effect on you. So that's one of the main areas we do. So that covers everything from risk assessments and written schemes all the way through to regular activities to make sure those water assets are operating the way they should do and safe and compliant, through to plumbing remedial works, training and sampling and everything else that goes with it, really. That's kind of wrapped up in a nice little bow just under legionella control. The other things we do is we support businesses and organisations with their private water networks. Some people don't know this, but basically the water company is responsible for the pipes up to the boundary of the property. Once it's on private land, it is the landowner or whoever manages that property's responsibility to look after it. It's a bit of a grey area, but more often than not, once you've got past the meter, that's your pipes and responsibility. And that includes your home as well, so it's something for people to bear in mind. What we can do is, say a manufacturing organisation's got a leak, we can do some strategic leak detection to find out exactly where that is. We'll then come back, dig down, fix the pipe, install new pipes, whatever it is that's needed, and get them up and running again. And basically anything that connects to those networks. Water furniture is the correct term, but we're talking valves, submeters, fire hydrants, things of that nature. So that's another area of water that we look after. We also do quite a bit in water and effluent efficiency. So people will be well familiar with Northumbrian Water, send them information about how to save water. A lot of that applies across business as well, because a lot of the water usage is domestic. That could be anything from like tap inserts or replacing them for push-stop taps, as well as doing full optioneering reports. So that's where we come in, we look at water coming in, where's it coming in from, because there might be a borehole or something like that. Are you using rainwater? How are you using that? How is that water getting contaminated into an effluent, which is basically just dirty water and sewerage that we would use in a domestic sense? And then how are we getting rid of that effluent? Is that the best way to do it? Could we recycle that back round so that you save the cost of the water coming back in? And then looking at things like those recycling elements and rainwater harvesting, which is effectively collecting rainwater and getting that into the system. So we look at all those option areas around those, as well as bog standard desktop audit, how we do and benchmark it against others in your industry type of thing. The other bit that we look after is, I told you this would get long, it's very niche. Northumbrian Water, although we're Northumbrian Water and Essex and Suffolk Water, Essex and Suffolk Water is a water-only company. So in the northeast, we also manage and operate wastewater facilities, wastewater treatment plants, which take all of the domestic waste and treat that and then put it back into the water cycle, as we'll all remember from our school days. We'll put that back into the environment, which will then get extracted back out and cleaned to a portable standard and brought to people's homes and businesses. Sometimes people aren't connected to the network, so people who've got septic tanks, things like that, that needs to be tanked out. And so we manage all of the customer interactions and try and figure out how we can make things better and easier for them to do that and save them a bit of money as well. We opened a load of rural sites which weren't open previously, which means that people aren't having to travel to our base at Howden or Bransands, which is in Middlesbrough. They've got Hexham and Newton Aycliffe and all these places where they can go to drop the waste, which saves them on the diesel and carbon and all that sort of great stuff. And then the other thing we do is we've got industrial effluents. So if you imagine your chemical manufacturers or big manufacturers, there might be an effluent that comes out the back end of that. We set up contracts so they can bring it to us. I think the final thing is leachate. Leachate is basically any liquid that's gone through solid waste. That's a kind of rough description of what it is. So if you think of a landfill site, it rains, it percolates through, there's a liquid at the bottom, that needs to get removed. So we've got a couple of big customers on that. And then you mentioned about wastewater. It's an interesting one. We've dabbled in what we would term as wastewater elements, which is things like block sewers and collapsed drains, that sort of thing, but on the private side. And we've done bits of it, but we've never really advertised it. So that's on my list to do this year to get that onto the website. But if people have got inquiries and they don't know, generally if it's related to water, I'm a pretty good point of contact. And if you've got any queries and you just don't know, give us a call. If I don't do it, I don't know how to do it, I generally know somewhere where I can direct you. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell, which was a rather large nutshell in fairness, but that's kind of what we do.
There's a lot to think about with water. I think a lot of people wouldn't realise that so much goes into it.
There is. Most of our interactions with water tend to be, I turn on a tap and water comes out of it. I flush my toilet and it goes away. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's exactly what it is. Obviously, I get an insight by being part of the water company, although I'm a little unit over on the side, into the operations of what water company people have to go through. And there's quite a lot that goes on. Yeah, it's interesting. And I think from a business point of view as well, because maybe the information just isn't out there. So sometimes a little bit of a knowledge gap for organizations of like, I've got a problem and I just don't know what to do about it. And what would probably happen is you would end up getting directed to someone like me. But hopefully with this podcast, people will know to come direct at me and then it'll be nice and easy for them.
How did you first get involved with BMUK and what drew you to the community?
I've done this job for quite a while now. I think I'm about 12 years in doing this particular role, and I've done networking in inverted commas. I've been in networking groups where you meet in the morning, a cup of coffee and a bacon sandwich, and they were fine. Is the honest answer. They were fine. There was nothing particularly wrong with them, but there was nothing particularly great about them. And I ended up being on another networking group, which was an online one, which was very good in fairness. And Paul came into that one to talk about this new networking thing that he was going to do. And anybody who's met Paul, he's the most natural networker I've ever seen. And I don't mean that lightly. The guy is brilliant. He could start a conversation with himself. He's that proficient in engaging people and getting them to talk and finding out the details. And he's a very skilled salesman as well, which I don't think people give him the credit for. He came into this networking group and he was talking about this new thing. And I really liked him. I just thought he was a really nice guy. And we exchanged details. And he gave us a call. He's like, Andy, I'm thinking about setting this thing up. I don't know if you'd be interested. And I was like, yeah, Paul. I was like, look, I'm more than happy to have a chat about it. And he talked about guaranteed opportunity. And I was like, well, guaranteed opportunity is something that I've never heard of before. It's never been guaranteed. All they do is basically open a room or a virtual space. You pay money to join. They put people together. There might be some tea and coffee on if you're in person, but basically that's about it. And then it's left up to you to make those relationships, build those relationships, and then look for the opportunity between each party to see what can come out of it. So that was really intriguing. And to be honest, I think just because I liked Paul as well, that probably helps. He's a likable fella. And then he basically started it up and he started running it. And I knew Phil from another networking group, funnily enough. And then Phil got involved, who's an IT specialist, network and security, all that sort of stuff. And I think the two of them combined is a really good option. But that was the reason why I was originally drawn to it. But it was the guaranteed opportunities where that's something very easy for me to sign off when I'm asking for money to go and do something.
This episode of Networking Working is brought to you by Business Matching UK, the UK's first business matching membership service with a business opportunity guarantee. If you're tired of turning up to networking events that lead nowhere, BMUK guarantees to offer something different. Structured, supported, and strategically driven business development, designed to connect the right people in the right way at the right time. With a blend of face-to-face and online meetings, plus 7 unique mechanisms, BMUK guarantees real business opportunities, and that guarantee is the cornerstone of what makes us different. Stop chasing leads and referrals. Start matching with meaningful opportunities. Register your interest today at www.business-matching.co.uk. Business Matching UK. Matching ambition with opportunity.
How do you see BMUK supporting your future growth?
A lot of people who go to networking groups, there's generally a proportion of bigger type of companies. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean, just they are larger. They've been going for a fair few years. You tend to get like your lawyers and estate agents and those types of recruitment consultants. They tend to end up at these sorts of places. And I fit into that mold more than I fit into the bottom mold because of the organization that I actually work for. However, my bit of it is very much of the SME size in that bundle. And I know people want it immediately, but these things do take a little bit of time. And it's been great because I've made great relationships with pretty much everybody there. Most of the people, I would assume it's in the 80 to 90% of people who started out are still there now. And we've built really good relationships. And that needs to happen because everybody needs to understand what everybody else does to a certain degree so that they can then see the opportunity in the conversations they're having with their customers. And it's got to that point, certainly for me. And funnily enough, an example, this week, I got a lead from Franco at Sigma 6 Fire, and he's introduced me to a property management company who need a legionella risk assessment. And then what will probably happen is that customer will then come back to us, because one thing we're really good at Total Water Solutions is once we've got a customer, we tend to keep them. We're pretty good on our customer service and our delivery, which is great. And I'll just get phone calls now. Andy, I've got another one. Andy, I've got another one. And, that one opportunity will lead to many more. From a support point of view, loads of people come up with ideas, and it's not ideas I would think of, which is another great point when you've got that diversity of thought over different people doing different things in different ways. They'll come in and say, well, what about this? Oh, I never thought of it that way before. Oh, that's interesting. And then my mind goes off on a little journey in itself.
How does networking within BMUK differ from other networking experiences you've had?
I mentioned before on the guaranteed opportunity, which is the main thing that will draw anybody in who's trying to generate business. I think it's genuinely the community. I think that's the correct word that you've chosen in that question. It doesn't feel like I turn up into a room and there's little cliques that have been there and people just talk to the same people, which I've felt in other places before. Now, that might have dissipated if I'd stayed longer and really worked at it. But at BMUK, it never felt that way ever, and it's very welcome. And we often get a new person join, but everyone's dead excited to have a new person there, kind of like, well, what do you do? How can I help? It's really a friendly community, and that network will grow. And the ethos of it, or the values of it, are very much around community and supporting each other to achieve our joint goals overall, whereas the other ones always felt a little bit like, what can I get out of you? It did feel a little bit like that, and particularly for someone like me, where I'm a large organization. When they see me, I'm Northumbrian Water, not Total Water Solutions. It's like, oh, I want to get in there, because we used to spend 1.5 billion every 5 years. This year, we're going to spend 3.6 billion, to give you an idea. So it's lots of money. So people see that and they go, oh, if I can get in there, I can sell some stuff. But it never felt like that at BMUK. I genuinely look forward to the in-person meetings. Whereas some of the other ones, going into those things, even I felt a little bit intimidated, a bit like, well, I'm going to have to kind of wiggle in between two people so I can have a conversation. Whereas with this one, there's lots of just genuinely happy people say, hi, Andy, how you doing? It feels like a family-orientated type place, which is just brilliant. And then there's things like subgroups. Subgroups started to form kind of organically, really. But obviously, Paul wasn't a kind of like, no, you can't do that here, or this needs to be a separate thing. It was just like, if you think this is what you need to do, guys, go do it. This is about getting you opportunity. It's about getting you business. That's his driving force behind it. So I'm part of the sustainability group. It's very, very diverse, mainly for the fact that Paul's been very, very rigid on the fact that he didn't want 3 lawyers in there at the same time and 3 of this and 3 of that. So it's generally 1. You might get 2 if it's a really big market space. In that sustainability group that I'm part of, we've got people who do things like PV, all that sort of thing. One of them's around getting credited for your environmental standards. One of them's looking at managing carbon in SME-sized businesses, which is a really difficult thing to do. And it's a really good platform. I'll drop Eugene's name in it. He manages us all in that sustainability group, so he probably gets a nod. We've got waste management companies in there. We've even got a lady in there who does emotional intelligence work. And from a sustainability point of view, it's something you overlook, because actually sustainability always kind of gets wrapped up with sort of carbon, energy, all that sort of thing. But actually people is a big part of it that we don't tend to track. And I think it's a little bit of a missing element, because without having that sustainable workforce of people doing the same thing for a long period of time, things can get missed quite easily. We've also got Terence, who does laser cleaning. There was a great video of him on the BBC Northeast the other day where he's taking graffiti off a grade 2 listed building. And it's all things where I didn't know a lot about this, but I do now because I've been part of this group, and everybody just supports each other. It's a fun place to be as well. And every now and again, Paul brings in biscuits. I think his wife makes them, and they are spectacular. So, Paul, if you listen to this, More biscuits, please. I enjoy them. Puts a smile on my face.
I can second that. The biscuits are fantastic.
They are good, aren't they?
Who are you looking to hear from, Andy? Who's your ideal inquiry?
Because I do a lot of weird, different niche type things, it's quite difficult to narrow it down to one. But one of the things that we're really looking for at the minute is more on the industry manufacturing side of things. I think is probably the way I would group them together. One of the things we do tend to find is people who are in industrial estates, even quite large organizations, more of the larger of the M side of the SME grouping, is they don't know that they need a Legionella risk assessment. And basically aerosol is the thing we don't want with water if there's a Legionella issue. I talked about showers earlier on, but if you've got things like water curtains, which you might find in spray manufacturing, the spraying paints on stuff, there's a water table that just drops down to capture the paint. Well, that's churning up all the time. So if you don't have that maintained properly, you could have issues, just as an example. But yeah, that manufacturing and industry type of customer, that's what we want. That tends to fit most of the stuff we do in a kind of nice little nutshell. One of the other things that we do take really seriously is about just trying to get information out there around Legionella, the risks, what you need to do. At the end of the day, if you don't want to come to me for a Legionella risk assessment, you want to go somewhere else, absolutely fine. Go get a Legionella risk assessment out of anything. That's the compliance one. That's the one that's going to really cause you an issue if it goes wrong. Leaks, not great. We want to keep as much of that precious water in pipes and getting used for what it should be getting used for. But we got to look after people first. So that would be one of the things that I'd probably be targeting the most at the minute. But happy to talk to anybody.
How can people find you? What are your contact details?
Our website has quite a bit of information on it. The website is www.totalwatersolutions.co.uk. If you go onto there, you'll be able to find my contact details on there. We've kept it pretty open. You've got mobile numbers for people as well. There's 0800 028 3557. That's our general telephone number. My mobile number, 07972 054 Give me a call. But all of our contact details are on there. There's web forms you can fill in. There's a tws@nwl.co.uk. Just give me a call. You can solve a problem generally far quicker if you just talk to someone. Let's get back to the days where we talk. But yeah, you can contact me through any of those. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll be able to find us on there as well. Just type in my name. You'll see the same picture that's on the website.
And our last question, Andy. If BMUK were a single tool in your desert island survival kit for business, what would that tool be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm thinking down two routes. One of them, let's tag the business into this. So clean drinking water would probably go a long way. And obviously we'd be able to look after that for you. But from a BMUK point of view, that was my tool. And what do I need it for? It's going to sound possibly derogatory, but I don't mean to do, but a shovel. And the reason for that shovel is it helps me dig and find the leads and the opportunities that I need. I think I would probably go for that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Andy. Total Water Solutions are most certainly the one-stop shop for anything water, and contacting you seems like the best, easiest, and the only step that anyone needs to take.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Nell.
If today's episode gave you fresh insight, a practical takeaway, or simply something to think about, hit follow, leave us a rating or review, and share the episode with someone else navigating the same landscape. Networking Working is powered by Business Matching UK, a movement changing the way businesses connect, collaborate, and grow. If you're ready to take a more strategic, supported approach to your business development, one that's built on strategy, not chance, then BMUK is what you didn't know you needed. Visit www.business-matching.co.uk to explore more and register your interest.
The information in this podcast is for general guidance and entertainment purposes only. The Networking Working podcast shares ideas and experiences to inspire and inform, and we believe they can be valuable, but they may only reflect part of your own business journey. We always recommend seeking independent advice and using your own judgment to decide what's right for your business. We encourage you to do your own research before making any decisions. The opinions in this episode are our own and those of our guests, and we do our best to ensure the content is accurate and relevant at the time of recording. If you have any questions or would like to continue the conversation, you can reach us at info@business-matching.co.uk. Thank you for listening.